These are the viral Apple-style animations taking over Instagram.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it. It's a daily driver, an everyday carry for your basic needs.
In this 4-part masterclass, we've already built 3 of the most stunning animations on the internet. Now in part 4, we're covering the part which most editors skip. Yet, it's the part that makes these animations so satisfying. Sound design. Today, I'll teach you the 3-step sound design workflow I use to turn these animations into cinematic, dynamic viral edits. Step 1, we're using whooshes to connect movements. Step 2, we're adding Apple-style textured sound effects that match the animation's environment. And step 3, we're using anticipating risers and hits to keep viewers engaged in the video. Download the sound effects and project files down below so that you can follow along. And if you want to master the entire Apple-style editing process, I've put together 5 free masterclasses covering everything from creativity, planning, and even creating 3 viral Apple-style animations from scratch in After Effects. The link to get access to these free masterclasses is going to be down in the description below. Alright, with this being said, let's dive right into sound design. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, an animation without sound design is only half alive. So to bring this full animation to life, we gotta sound design it. And the first place I start with sound designing is going back into Premiere Pro. So the concept here is this. The last place that we left off is rendering everything inside of After Effects. We want to export our video from After Effects and then drag it back into Premiere Pro so that we could do the sound design in Premiere Pro and take care of it from there, since After Effects is not that well optimized for sound design. And so for this reason, guys, I've already gone ahead and rendered out my Apple style animation over here. All that I'm going to do is take it and simply drag it into my project files inside of Premiere Pro. Now that I've got this in here, I'm going to drag this onto my sequence and it's going to create an entire sequence. And now I've got my animation plus voiceover back inside of Premiere Pro so we can get to work on it from here. Now sound design can be a pretty complex procedure, especially knowing that there's so many things happening all the time on the screen. There's so many different effects all the time, which means it's going to be difficult to try and sound design all of them at the same time. So for this reason, what we do is we follow a sound design workflow. What the sound design workflow basically is it's 3 simple steps. Number 1, we sound design the whooshes, which is any movement throughout the video. Number 2, we add textured sound effects, which is any UI clicks, UI sound effects, digital sound effects, anything that adds texture to the video. And lastly, number 3, we add the emotional sound effects. And the emotional sound effects is anything that's like risers or hits, things that build up the intensity of the video or drop it down. And so for this reason, we're going to get started on stage number 1, which is going to be our whooshes. Now to do this, inside of my Apple folder over here, I'm simply going to add in a new folder and simply call it sound effects. Now you guys can get access to this folder down below, but I'm going to be using Epidemic Sound to download all of these sound effects. And here's exactly how I go about sound designing things to make them look very, very cinematic. And since step 1 is going to be taking care of the whooshes, I'm going to watch through it and I'm specifically going to look for the whooshes. So let's go ahead and do this.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new.
So let's go ahead and break down what's happening on my screen. So the first thing that I see happens is my text pops in. Now, this isn't a significant movement. It's not big enough to the point where I can add a whoosh to it. The way in which we know if a movement is big enough to the point where we can add a whoosh to it, if realistically, if that movement were to happen, would it move the air around it to the point where it would produce a sound effect? And you guys will see what I mean in just a moment. Now, if we go ahead and play forward, you guys can see my phone comes in. Now, this is a huge movement.
Introducing the all-new.
This big movement definitely needs a big whoosh. So we're off to collecting whooshes. Now, where do we get our sound effects from? This is very tricky. If you guys want to get your sound effects for free, you are going to have to sacrifice the quality, which means if you want to download them from YouTube, you are going to get lower quality sound effects. However, I highly recommend you use Epidemic Sound simply because it gives you access to the right sound effects and it's only a very minor investment compared to just how much quality you can get out of it. So I highly recommend you guys get Epidemic Sound. And as we mentioned, the first sound effect that we're looking for is a whoosh. So let's go ahead and give this a try and see how this goes. So I'm gonna head over into here and just simply search up for a whoosh. Now, when you do this inside of Epidemic Sound, you're going to get a long and big variety of whooshes. So this is where niching down your keywords is important. Let's go ahead and quickly analyze the video. This video is in a minimal abstract setting. It's also a futuristic setting. So I don't want to use any metallic whooshes. I don't want to use any whooshes that sound old. I need whooshes that sound modern, abstract, and futuristic. Just simply because this is the setting of the video. A misplaced sound effect can really put your viewer out of zone and really pull them out of the environment and mess up the whole video. So what I'm looking for here is some kind of cyber or futuristic whoosh. So let's go ahead and give them a listen. This one's great, for example. However, it is way too long. This one feels like we might use it, but I'm not too sure yet. So what do I do in this case? I simply click on the download button and I click on download and I download it into my file. Now I like these whooshes because they're short and they're intense, so we might have a place to use them in the video. Let's go ahead and download them as well. Notice guys, I'm not just looking for my current whoosh which I need, I'm also thinking what would I possibly need in the future of the video. I like this one. It has a very heavy build-up and a very strong hit. We might actually need this to build up our viewer in anticipation. So let's go ahead and download this. And these ones over here signify a huge movement, which I also like. I'm going to go ahead and add these in as well. Now this being said, we have a bunch of whooshes. The last thing I'm going to do is just search up for sci-fi whoosh to see if we can come up with anything interesting. For example, these sound pretty cool, but I'm not sure where I'm going to use them, but I'm going to go ahead and download them either way. I really love these. These sound like textured whooshes, almost as if they're kind of encapsulated in this cyber futuristic feeling. I really want to download these because there's a lot of instances where you have things that are moving that feel like they're futuristic, and this is the perfect sound effect to use there. So I'm going to go ahead and download these. I'm also going to download this one as well. Okay, we have way more than enough whooshes. We actually have a lot of whooshes right now. So this is where it becomes interesting. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and open up my folder. I'm going to get inside of Premiere Pro. I'm simply going to select all of these and drag them into my project files. Now, the main way I like to utilize sound design is get used to this specific action sequence. All you got to do, head over to your project files, double click on your sound effect, and you'll be able to see it inside of your source window. If you don't see this, just click on window and click on source over here. This allows you to actually play through the sound effect and give it a listen before you add it in. And in the case that you like a specific one, you can click on the letter I to place an in point and the letter O to place an O point, and simply drag that specific sound effect instead of dragging all three of them together. So this being said, this is a very, very quick and useful function that you guys can start using. All right, let's go ahead and get to work on this. So the first thing we've got is this big iPhone over here. Now, the first thing I look out for in a whoosh is how long is the actual whoosh. This whoosh needs to be from this point all the way to this point because that's how long the movement is. It's not realistic if the whoosh is longer than the movement or shorter. So we need it to be perfect on the spot, which means I need somewhat of a 1 second whoosh because it goes from 0.2 to 0.3. Like this one's awesome, but number one, it's too intense on the peak because the movement's unrealistic. And number two, it's also way too long. So let's go and keep searching. That's a great one, but it's too light. I really like this one. I think this is the most realistic one. So let's go ahead and go right before the sound effect, click on I to add an in point and click on O after it to add an out point. Now let's go ahead and drag this in and give it a shot. So once you have your whoosh in your timeline, how do you actually align this to your movement? It's very, very simple. All you have to do is simply find where the movement begins and place your whoosh's beginning here, and then try and match the peak of the whoosh with the peak of the movement, which is somewhere around here, right? The fastest point in this whole movement, which is the loudest point in the whoosh, is right around this point here. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see what it sounds like.
Introducing the all-new.
That sounds awesome, but I already know I need to have this earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag this thing back a little bit.
Introducing the all-new.
That sounds awesome. So another thing you also need to keep your eye out for is the volume. Since our speaker volume is at -9 decibels, I need my sound effects to be way lower than that. So if we take a look at our decibels of my sound effect, it's at -6, so it's actually louder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on G for the audio gain, and I'm going to adjust the gain by around -4. This should be enough to actually like tone it down by a lot. You can see it's a lot more quiet. I'm going to add in another -2, so we eventually dropped it down by -6. Let's go ahead and give this a listen and see what it looks like.
Introducing the all-new
Awesome.
Apple.
It's a subtle and useful effect that is amplified by the background. Okay, let's go ahead and keep watching. The next thing that happens is we've got these 3 circles that come in. We could definitely use some kind of whoosh for this. As a matter of fact, I think a good whoosh to use here is probably one of these cyber whooshes like so. I think these would be awesome. So since the circle movement starts around here and all 3 of them kind of build up to this point, I'm going to need a creative way to show not 1, but 3 different circles without it being too intense to the point where it blurs out my voiceover. So let's go ahead and see how we do this. This sound effect over here is a very subtle one. Let's go ahead and add it in and see how this sounds inside my environment. So since my movement starts around here, I'm gonna have my sound effect start here.
The all-new.
And just like this, we actually end up with a great layer of sound.
Introducing the all-new.
Notice this sci-fi sound effect in the background just adds a bit of flavor to that whoosh. Because it's layered on top of the whoosh, it makes it feel a bit more futuristic. That's exactly what we're looking for. The next thing that I notice is happening is the iPhone reaches a stagnant position and then instantly starts building back up. This automatically tells me that I need my whoosh to start calming down around this stage, and I need my second whoosh to start building back up as this one's going down. So let's go ahead and search for a big whoosh that we could use over here. So for this specific movement, we need something that builds up and quickly snaps at the end. In this case, this kind of whoosh would actually be pretty useful. Let's give this a shot, see what it sounds like.
Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into
Notice that actually plays a very good role.
Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're
That actually seems to fit really, really well. And this whoosh is really, really good, but just to add a bit more texture to it, just to make sure that this sound effect actually feels like it's part of this whole sci-fi theme, I'm going to add in another sci-fi sound effect on top of it. So give this shot a listen. This is some kind of whoosh that is sci-fi, but layering it on with the bigger whoosh is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to make sure that the big whoosh actually overlays the sound effect. So we can't really hear this one, but it's also going to add a little hint of flavor, that little bit of texture. It's going to make it feel like a sci-fi whoosh. So that's what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add this in over here. And I'm just going to match the peak together somewhat closely and just drop it by like -3. Let's go ahead and give this a listen, see if it works.
The all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise.
Notice it's a bit too loud, but it adds such a nice hint of flavor. So all that I'm going to do now is I don't like the fact that it stays around for too long.
Perhaps you're into exercise.
It echoes for too long. It kind of ruins the transition into the next scene. So what I'm going to do is go to the middle, and I'm going to go to Effect Controls and click on the keyframe next to level. This is going to keyframe the level of my volume here. Then I'm going to move forward and simply drop it down by -10. This is going to help, as you guys can see, drop my sound effect down.
Perhaps you're into
It's still too strong, so I'm going to go ahead and move this keyframe back so it drops a lot quicker.
Perhaps you're into exercise.
You guys can see how quickly that fades away. Real quick, before we get into sound designing the icon animations, if you love creating the Apple style animations, but you're not fully confident in making them yourself, we've built out something for you. We've put together 5 free masterclasses to help you master this entire editing style from scratch. First, I'm going to show you how I come up with brand new animation ideas. Then we're going to use my creativity formula to plan out 3 high quality Apple style animations from scratch. And finally, I'm going to walk you through creating each and every single one step by step in 3 full masterclasses. Plus, we even added a 6 bonus course showing you exactly how to sound design these animations, so you can put today's lesson into practice. It's all gonna be completely free. Just click the link down in the description below to get access. And let's get back into sound designing. So we've got a few movements here. We've got this circle popping up. We could use a cyber sound effect on this. I've already got this in mind. I know, for example, for the icon, I'm definitely going to use a pop sound effect for that. And for the word down, I'm definitely going to use a textured sound effect for that, because those are textures. But for the icon, for the actual circle popping in, I don't really have a sound effect for that. So let's go ahead and dig around in our cyber sound effects and see if we can find a really small, not so audible cyber sound effect. Let's go and take a look. What I notice is we've got 3 different sound effects here, and this is why waveforms are so crucial, that start with a sound effect and end with another one. I can actually cut out the first started sound effect over here and just get that and use it. And since we have got 3, we could use 3 different ones. I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So for this circle, it starts right around here. So I'm actually going to align this sound effect over here. And since I don't want this to be very loud, because there's more important sound effects that need to play in front of it, I'm just going to click on G and drop it by like -7.
You're into exercise.
I'm going to go ahead and move it back a little bit more.
Perhaps you're into exercise.
So notice how a subtle effect like this
Perhaps you're into exercise.
actually adds in a lot of texture to it. So let's go ahead and do this to the rest of them. Then we've got a movement to the bottom, and this is where things get interesting. So in this scene, everything is movement. Keep in mind, if we want to go with the cartoony, Sutox Originals Apple style animation, he doesn't use a lot of whooshes. He uses very minimal whooshes and a lot of textured sound effects. So it depends on the style as well. But in my personal opinion, I think a minimal whoosh here with a bigger textured sound effect on top of it would work really well. So here's what I'm going to do. First up, we've got a few layers of movements. The big layer is that there's a lot of these objects moving in, and the second layer is that the camera is moving in. So I'm going to start with the whoosh for the camera because that's the more important one, and then I'm going to work on the layers. So for the whoosh of the camera, we just need a generic whoosh here. So we could use any one of these which isn't too loud. I'm going to go ahead and end up using this basic whoosh that we used earlier. And so the peak of my movement is like right around here. So I'm actually going to align the peak of the whoosh right around here. This is a harsher whoosh. So worst case, we can always, number 1, tone down the volume, and number 2, play around with those level keyframes to make sure it fades in and out at the right time. So let's go ahead and click on G and tone it down by around -7. Let's give this a shot.
You can track your progress.
I love that. That sounds awesome. So the second thing that happens is after this whoosh comes here,
you can track your progress with Apple.
We've got yet another whoosh that has to come in over here. So we actually need to look for another whoosh just like it. And I really like this one that's right next to it. So let's go ahead and add it in. Let's find the peak of the movement, which is right around here. Align it with this whoosh and really tone down this one's volume. So here's the thing, guys. When you've got multiple whooshes behind each other, that can sometimes feel too intense to the viewer. It's sometimes going to feel like there's a lot of things happening at the same time. So what we do is, while the first whoosh is -7 decibels, we're going to make the second one even lower, so it's a more subtle effect. So we're going to make this one -10 decibels.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration?
This one's a bit too slow, so I'm actually going to move it earlier.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration?
And then we finally have our final
What about your hydration?
last whoosh right over here, where we could actually use whichever whoosh we want. And I'm just going to reuse this first one over here because it actually just worked out super nicely. So let's go ahead and align that with the movement. So you can see it starts here, maybe a bit earlier, peaks at right around here, and then fades back out, which is pretty good.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits?
And then we finally move back to the center, which is time for a pretty intense whoosh, where I'm actually going to use this one over here. Let's go ahead and drag it in and see what this works like. This movement starts right around here, and then we could just simply have it fade out. Let's see, peak of the movement right around here, which works very nicely.
Your hydration and your gym habits will handle it.
There's two things that we just noticed. This movement is too small for a huge whoosh like this, which feels so bad. Like when you're watching this and the whoosh is huge and the movement's small, that feels so wrong. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete this, and we're going to search for a smaller whoosh like this one, and we're simply going to use it to highlight this final movement down here. So that's right around here.
Your hydration and your gym habits will handle it.
I think this one's actually too intense. What we're going to do is we're going to search for another whoosh that's going to be subtle, but also work perfectly for this movement. So let's go into our epidemic sound, head over to sound effects. Let's go ahead and search for whoosh again, and let's look through a few more options. This sounds very, very good. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. We're going to download it and add it in, and then we're going to import it inside of our Premiere Pro projects. And we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. I think this is going to work pretty nicely. So obviously this movement starts here and peaks right around here. So we're obviously going to tone it down by like -10, so it's not that audible.
What about your hydration and your gym habits will handle it?
I'm still not a huge fan, and I'll tell you exactly why. Since we've got 3 long whooshes after each other, having a short whoosh like this at the end really throws us off. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm simply going to reuse the first whoosh, which we used over here, which means we are reusing whooshes a lot, but it's okay as long as it sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and use it right here.
And your gym habits will handle it.
Just like this. And the reason I like this is since they're all from the same family or from the same sound effect, this actually means that they're going to feel similar, and it's not going to give the viewer that feeling that there's something off. It's going to feel like it's all from the same family. But this being said, I am going to drop this second whoosh, since it's already down by -7, I'm going to drop it by another -4, and this last whoosh by another -5. This way they're all lower than each other.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits will handle it?
Just like that, and that sounds awesome. There's a lot of intense stuff happening here, so we just got to make sure that these are all low. So I'm actually going to select all of them and do a -3, because the whoosh is a sound effect that's made up of a very low frequency. It's a very bassy sound effect, which actually means when you add this in too many times, it can really throw the viewer off, number one, and number two, really overshadow your voiceover because it's a lot of bassy sound effects. So be careful with that. And then we've got our click and everything else happens. But real quick, as I promised you guys, we do want to go back to number 1, our circle icons, and number 2, these pop-in icons. These over here are very light movements. They need quick, simple whooshes. So let's go ahead and see. Things like this could totally work. So our first movement that we see is the pop-up of this blue box. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in, and I'm going to see if we can align it. I'm going to add this in on a new track down here and expand so that we can see it. I'm going to see if I can align it with the peak of this movement, which should be right around here. And let's just see what this sounds like.
Exercise. You can track your progress.
Just like that. That sounds awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and tone it down by around -5, so it's not very obvious. The second whoosh that we got to add is for this other movement. Now, here's the thing, guys. If 2 movements are really close together, just using 1 whoosh sometimes is enough, but you always need to test to know that. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. I like a sharper whoosh for this one. Maybe something like this. Let's just see what this sounds like, and then we'll judge based off of that. The peak of this thing's movement is going to be right around here. So let's go ahead and see if we just add in maybe a subtle whoosh like this for this peak of the movement right around here. Let's see what this sounds like.
You can track your progress with...
That sounds pretty good, but I think this whoosh is too intense. Maybe if we toned it down by -5.
You can track your progress with...
I do think it's a bit too late, so we should early it a bit more.
You can track your progress with Apple.
I love that. This being said, don't forget we are adding a sci-fi whoosh every time these circles pop in. So we're going to go ahead and stay consistent with this. We've got a second circle that pops in here. We're definitely going to do it with this one. This time we're going to use this second sci-fi whoosh. We're going to go ahead and add this in.
What about your hydration?
There we go.
Progress with Apple. What about your hydration?
This one's a bit too intense. I'm going to move it back and definitely tone it down by -10.
What about your hydration?
Awesome, love that. And then we're going to do this one more time for this last one over here. So this one starts right around here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my sound effect here, give it a -10.
And your gym habit.
Just like so. I am going to make my timeline a bit bigger just so that we can see what's happening. This is just a personal preference because I like to see what's happening with the sound side. Pay attention to the movements happening here. Number 1, we've got the circle pop down movement that's transitioning. So there's a circle that's moving very intensely. And number 2, there's a big circle taking up the screen. So these are 2 big whooshes. Since the movements are so close together, I can merge them in one very strong whoosh. Let me show you guys exactly how. I want to go ahead and add this one and give this one a try. and we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to add the peak where the big movement's about to happen, just like this. And I'm going to tone it down by a -10, see what happens.
We'll handle it. It's a daily...
I think that's amazing, but we should definitely have it happen earlier a bit more.
We'll handle it. It's a day.
Notice this big whoosh is really fitting with this big circle that takes up the screen. Once again, big thing I'm going to be adding is this quantum flux effect right under it and matching it just with the peak right over here and toning it down by a lot, something like -10. That sounds awesome, but we definitely need to tone it down more. So let's give it another -10. Now here, there's a tiny bit of a movement, which is the actual projection moving. And this is a pretty good movement to add a whoosh, but you need a very subtle one. You don't want this to be too intense. So let's go ahead and search for a whoosh that's like barely even noticeable. I think this one over here is a very good one. Now we can actually try adding them in and selecting R and speeding them up and then toning them down by -15.
Daily driver.
We'll end up with a quick whoosh that just does the job. And since this is just supposed to be a small whoosh in the background without anything noticeable, we could just actually use this. And we're just going to go ahead and tone down the volume by even more. I'm also going to right click on speed and duration, and just click on maintain audio pitch. This way it doesn't become a high-pitched sound effect when we speed it up. The second thing that also happens is this thing now fades in. Now obviously, once again, Sutok's original style, you don't really want to use too many intense whooshes. So over here, we're simply going to use a light whoosh that can really blend this movement together. And a good one that we could use is one of these. I'm actually just going to use this one and align the peak with the moment at which this object changes shapes. So this thing will build up and then change like so.
An everyday camera.
Just like this. I think that's awesome. Maybe tone it down by -3. And the final two movements we've got is the phone icon actually flowing in from the right side, which is where we can actually use another whoosh. So we're going to go ahead and click on I over here and use this whoosh right over here. Let's go ahead and align the peak to right at the beginning of the movement, because that's the point at which this movement's the fastest.
An everyday carry.
Notice that sounds awesome. We're going to go ahead and tone this down though, because remember, this is Sutok's original style. We don't want this to have intense whooshes. Keep it very light. Okay, this is too intense. We still have to tone it down by another -7. And the main whoosh has to be toned down by -3. And then this thing is going to glow and then fade back out. I'm just going to reuse the same exact whoosh and align the peak to the edge right here, which is where the peak
for your basic needs.
One key thing that does happen at the end is the whole thing fades back out, and I need a big whoosh for this because everything is going away, both the glass and the map. So I definitely need to look for a pretty strong whoosh now. Let's go ahead and just give this a shot, see what it sounds like.
For your basic needs.
Awesome, let's go ahead and select it and just tone down its volume by something like -10, and we should be able to fade everything back out.
Daily driver. An everyday carry for your basic needs.
I do, however, think it happens too late, so let's go ahead and make sure it does happen earlier. Just like this, everything fades out, and ladies and gentlemen, we've done the hardest part of this whole video, which is adding in the whooshes, and just take a look at how much more depth this video already has. We didn't even do the other 2 layers, so let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it. It's a daily driver, an everyday carry for your basic needs.
Alright, you're 20 minutes into this sound design workflow and you're still watching. That tells me 2 things. Number 1, you want to become a viral editor that creates high quality animations and sound designs now. And number 2, you probably want to make at least $1,000 per month with video editing. If this sounds like a dream to you, here's the truth. You can actually achieve this. It's not impossible. But the harsh reality is you won't be able to learn how you can achieve this video editing goal that you have by just watching YouTube tutorials. You need a step-by-step plan that takes you from zero to becoming a high quality editor, teaches you all the viral editing styles of 2025, and lands you your first $1,000 per month editing client. That's exactly why we built Ultimate Editors, our 90-day program that teaches you Premiere Pro and After Effects from the ground up, trains you in multiple viral editing styles in 2025, and even teaches you the business side of video editing so that you can start making money with it. We host over 300 plus video editing courses in just one community, plus 3 live calls every single week. And the best part, we drop new courses monthly, meaning every new month in Ultimate Editors, you are getting a brand new course. So here's the thing. There's too much in Ultimate Editors to just talk about in a quick VSL like this one. So if you want us to help you master viral video editing in 2025 and get you to make $1,000 per month with video editing in less than 90 days, click the link down in the description below and join Ultimate Editors. This is the best time to join this community because we're pouring so much into making this community better and better every single day, and it's just the best time to be in Ultimate Editors. But with all this being said, let's dive back into the video. One good tip that I can give you guys for sound design is always stay organized. organized so you know what's happening. So I'm going to select all of my whooshes. Since we've only added the whooshes, we're going to right click on label, and I'm going to color them something like rose. Rose is pretty good for whooshes, and I'm going to go ahead and scale these down. So now we've got our whooshes out of the way. Now I'm going to start layering on the second sound effects, which are going to be my textured sound effects. So I'm going to right click and add tracks, which adds in a video track. Just make sure that it is after your audio 6, and just make sure that it is a stereo track. Go ahead and click on OK, and you're going to have a bunch of tracks. Do this a few times until we've got a bunch of tracks. Let's actually go ahead and increase the amount of tracks to something like 10. It's going to give us 10 more audio tracks that we can play around with, and their sizes are going to be normal. So now our whooshes are small and our texture tracks are different. So let's go ahead and get to work on this. For our textured sound effects, I'm doing the same thing as a whoosh, watching through, but I'm not looking for the movements. I'm looking for everything else, everything that could have a texture. For example, like the text popping up here. The text popping up, let's go ahead and describe this movement a little bit. This movement is a quick movement. So for this reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to Epidemic Sounds. And as I told you guys, half the battle is knowing which sound effect you want to use. So we're going to go to our search bar, and I personally know that one of the best sound effects that works with this is something called metallic gears. Metallic gears sound something like this. Something like this always adds a nice texture to the text. So I'm actually going to go ahead and download these. If you want to be organized, you can add them in a different file inside. You can create a new folder and actually call it textured sound effects and add it in here. This should be pretty good. Let's go ahead and add this into Premiere Pro. Let's go ahead and select a nice one. So we got a good selection of them. This first one's pretty good as well. Let's go ahead and try this first one. And then once again, remember, you want to add it in on audio layer 7, which is where you begin your textured sound effects. And we're going to make sure this one starts with this first text here. And I'm only going to use the loud part of the sound effect, like here. Now, there's a few things that I noticed. Number one, it's too kind of smooth. It's not really noticeable. So what I actually need is I need to look for a different sound effect that is more kind of noticeable. So if we take a look at this one here, we have single selectors, which we can try. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and just see what it looks like. So here we go. We're just going to add this in, and then we're going to try and select the single selector. And all that we're going to do is we're going to align this single selector with when our text pops in. So I'm going to use this one here. And then I'm going to use one for the A right under it over here. I'm holding down Alt and clicking to duplicate. And then for the word phone, I also need one right here. So once again, I'm just realigning all three of them, just like so.
Need a phone.
I think they happen too far apart, so let's close them up together more.
Need a phone.
Just like that. That sounds awesome. Let's go and select them and just tone it down by -10. This could totally be realistic. I don't think it's going to sound good in the ad. So we're actually just going to look for a different kind of click. So let's go ahead and head over to Epidemic Sound. And you know what? Let's go to sound effects. And once again, remember, the environment here is we're looking for something that's UI or something that's kind of futuristic and minimal. So what I'm going to look for is futuristic click. It might take a few tries to find a good sound effect. Let's go ahead and download a bunch and test them out, like this button click over here. Let's go ahead and download it. There's these different pop-up sound effects that I actually really like. We're not going to use them now, but I'm 100% sure we're going to use them later on in the Sudox Originals sound effects. So remember, I'm always thinking of the whole edit, not just now. So I'm actually going to download these and keep them in the back. This is a cool button, but it's a bit too intense. I'm still going to add this in because I think we might use it in the future. I like this specific button sound effect, so let's go ahead and add this in and test out a few different sound effects. Okay, we have a bunch now, so let's go ahead and just add them into our Premiere profile. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new bin here and just call it textured sound effects so that we don't get confused between all these different sound effects. Let's go ahead and add it into this one. The first one I want to test out is this heavy button press over here. So let's go ahead and find our text and see if we align this. What would it sound like?
Need a phone.
I really like the way this sounds. So I'm actually going to add it in and put it at -7.
Need a phone.
Now this is just one option, okay? I'm not a big fan of it, but it's not too bad. Let's go ahead and mute it and try something else. We also have this button click, like so, which is fast, which means I can actually align this with every single word. So I'm actually going to add one in here for the word need. And after the word need, I'm going to add one in around 1 frame later for the word A and add another one in 1 frame later for the word phone. Let's go ahead and see what this sounds like.
Need a phone.
I think that sounds so much better. Let's go ahead and tone it down to -9 and delete this older sound effect.
Need a phone.
Awesome. Now, an extra touch of detail we could add is we can actually add the Apple notification sound when the iPhone comes on screen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to head over to my sound effects and I'm just going to search up iPhone and see if I can find anything. These sound effects have nothing to do with iPhone, but I'm still going to add them in because you know what? At least they're smartphone related, which means at least they get our viewer to think of a smartphone. So I'm going to actually add in this sound effect here. And I'm going to select it with a lot of space after it. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it echo in the background. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to add in my audio. And I'm basically going to add it in once there's no more sound effects. So I want this sound effect to be somewhere in the middle where it's actually audible. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Need a phone. Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone.
just like that. I think that's awesome. But what I'm going to do different is I'm actually going to go to my effects tab and add in something we call a studio reverb. And the studio reverb basically just echoes your effect. So I'm going to add this into my layer, go to my effect controls, and you'll find it down here. Let's click on edit and add the preset of vocal reverb medium. We'll hear the echo happening.
Apple iPhone.
You could hear the echo in the background. This being said, when this happens, it does lower the volume of our sound effects. So keep in mind, you have to accommodate for that by adjusting the gain by something like 3 to get a louder sound effect. And let's see what this sounds like.
Need a phone. Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're
just like that. That looks awesome. Now we're getting into the second scene where we've got all these different pop-ups happening. However, we've already added the sound effect for the background circle. There's a few more. There's number 1, the icon. Number 2, there's the text. And number 3, there's the stroke. So how do we go about this? Let's start with the text. The text is a simple one. It's the same as this one over here. It has to be a clicky and a finicky sound effect. One of our sound effects over here is called a gear. We take a look at it. It's this one over here. And this is a small, subtle sound effect that's in the background that does sound like a text popping up. But something like this sounds like it's a text popping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my text part. I'm going to find my text. The first letter pops in here. I'm going to add this in here.
Into exercise.
Which I think is awesome. We can even use this first sound effect, and this one might actually sound a bit better. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave this first sound effect over here, and I'm just going to tone down its volume by -5. Since this is a small animation, it really shouldn't be that audible.
Perhaps you're into exercise.
Then we move on. Let's go ahead and do this for the rest of the text. So this text happens over here. I'm going to add in this sound effect for it right around here, and actually I'm just going to slow it down and bring it down by -5.
What about your hydration?
And then for my last one, I'm just going to hold down Alt and duplicate this text, this sound effect over here, and just use the same one for the gym, but I'm just going to shorten it a bit more.
And your gym habit.
Just like so. And I'm going to tone it down by -3 as well. We still have this icon popping in. This is the perfect time to use one of these bubbly sound effects. But you know what? I think it would be even better if we just used a quick sound effect, because I just think it fits this better.
Perhaps you're into exercise.
Exercise is good. Let's go ahead and do this to the other 2 icon animations as well. So for this one over here, we have a water droplet. So I actually want like a water droplet sound effect for this one. And I'm actually just going to use it just because it adds a bit of an extra texture. So we're going to use water droplet, or we could just search up water pop. I'm going to go ahead and download these and just use one of them. Let's go ahead and just use this one over here. Let's give it a shot.
What about your hydration?
You guys can see that adds a nice texture to it. So I'm going to go and click on G and actually drop it by a little bit. And then finally, we've got the gym. What kind of sound effect can we use for a gym? We'll just use the same one as the exercise, and that'll do the job.
And your gym habits.
Just like that. And I think that sounds awesome.
Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration? And your gym habits.
Awesome. This all sounds very, very good. The final thing I want to do is I actually want to just make sure that their volume is not this loud, because they are really, really loud. I'm going to go ahead and tone these down. And also the gears are really loud. So I'm actually going to tone it down a bit more, maybe -4 for these. And this being said, we get to our final one, which is going to be the stroke wrapping around. I think a very good sound effect is any kind of sci-fi, something that just rises and drops back down, some kind of whoosh. So you can see, guys, I've gone into Epidemic Sound, just searched up sci-fi completion, and we have like a lot of different sound effects we could use. We can even use something as subtle as this, something that signifies completion. So let's go ahead and give these completion sound effects a shot. We're going to go ahead and add this in instead of this sound effect and see if this sounds better.
Exercise. You can track your...
I think that sounds a lot better. Let's go ahead and use this for the rest of the sound effects too. And I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it for this one as well. The way I'm aligning them, by the way, is I'm just starting them off with the colored stroke. And all I'm going to do is to just like play around with them. I'm actually going to add in a pitch shifter, because I don't want to have the same sound effect a few times after each other. So I'm going to add in a pitch shifter, which actually helps us change the pitch. And all we're going to do is open up individual parameters. And I'm going to select this one here, which is our second one. And I'm going to tone the pitch down to 0.75. Then I'm going to copy this effect and add it to this one over here and tone it down even more to 0.5. Should be better now.
Size. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it.
There we go. You guys can see this adds a very nice variation. And then one more thing that we also do notice is that after all these happen,
into exercise.
After our pop-up occurs, there's a few things. There's number 1, text that comes in, and number 2, there's a progress bar that fills in. And this is going to be a bit tricky. Let's get started with the text. The text, we already know how to do this. We want another one of these gear sound effects, which is going to be easy. But I actually want to use a different sound effect. I want to use a bubbly one because this one is in a bubbly animation. So let's give this a shot.
You can track your progress.
That is sounding a lot better. Let's go ahead and just tone down its volume so it's not that audible. -9.
You can track your progress with...
And then for the pop-up of the loading bar, I think the sound effect I want to use is I want to use a quick click. Maybe something like one of these.
Your progress with Apple.
And just drop it down by like -7. Let's go ahead and just tone down this total volume to like -4.
You can track your progress with Apple.
That sounds awesome because this thing has a bouncy animation. It just feels realistic. And the second thing I also want is when this thing fills in, I need first of all a cyber riser that feels like this loading bar is actually filling in. And I need some kind of sound effect for when it actually gets completed. This is where I'm going to need two things. I need to search up for a success sound effect over here. I like this sound effect, it's really good. Let's go ahead and add it in. And let's just go ahead and put this inside of Premiere Pro. We can go ahead and use this middle one here. Let's go ahead and give it also some room for the echo. And we're just going to align it with the moment at which our loading bar hits the peak, which is right around here. And we're going to tone it down by -10.
What about your
just
hydration?
Like that.
Track your progress with Apple.
I'm actually just going to have it happen a bit earlier too.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your...
And the whole thing, the way that we're going to make the build up is very, very easy. We're just going to use a sound effect called a riser, and we're going to make sure that we use a cyber riser. So we're going to use riser sci-fi. As long as it's a positive one, not like an eerie one, it should be good. This is a synthesized version. Let's go ahead and just try and download this and give it a shot. I have an idea that we could do with this. If I go ahead and import this into Premiere Pro, you'll notice it is a weird looking riser because it's in reverse. And if I right click and click on speed and reverse it, this means it's going to end at the peak and start at the slower value and align the peak over here. This should be good.
You can track your progress with Apple.
Just like that. It's not bad, but we do have to definitely tone it down to like -20 and we have to only have it start here.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration?
Which is definitely not bad. It definitely sounds pretty cool. So, and if we go ahead and actually reverse it one more time, let's see what it looks like in normal speed.
Progress with Apple. What about your hydration?
That sounds pretty cool, actually. You know what? Yeah, we'll go for it.
You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits?
And with this being said, we pretty much sound textured this whole car.
Need a phone. Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it.
Alright, if you're still watching this far and you haven't checked out Ultimate Editors yet, it's probably because you're not 100% sure that we're able to help you as a video editor. And I totally get that, but just give me 30 seconds to prove why we can help you. With dozens of students earning upwards of $2,000 per month with video editing, and students whose editing looks like this, it's fair to say that we have a plan that works. Inside of Ultimate Editors, we've built out a 300+ course library into a 90-day program. In the first 30 days, we're going to master Premiere Pro and After Effects from the ground up. In the next 30 days, you're going to learn the most up-to-date viral editing styles of 2025. Josh Leon, Devin Jatho, Iman Gaji, my style, and many more. And in the last 30 days, we're going to build out your personal brand and land high-paying clients using our proven business strategies for video editors. There's a lot to learn. And the best way to figure out if this is actually for you is to watch our 7-minute breakdown where we're going to explain exactly how we'll help you master video editing and get you your first $1,000 per month within just 90 days. If you're ready to check it out, the link is going to be in the description. And with all this being said, let's go ahead and finish this sound design. And now moving on to this, the next thing that happens is this stroke goes away, so we definitely want a sound effect for that. For this, I think we could use the whoosh sound effect that feels like a cyber one. We're going to just go ahead and use this one here, which is a closing cyber sound effect right around here.
We'll handle it.
Just like that, it's pretty good.
We'll handle it.
And then what happens here is this thing pops, and I really want to use a pop sound effect for the moment which it transitions. So I'm going to go over to my texture sound effects and use one of these pop sound effects as the transition is happening, like right around here.
We'll handle it. It's a day.
Just like this. That should be pretty good, and we'll tone it down by a little bit. Now what you can notice is that this thing, first of all, glitches in. This opacity kind of projection glitches in. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use a quick, small, tiny glitch effect. Over here, we can just search up the word glitch. So we're just going to go ahead and use this sound effect here. It's kind of like a glitch with a whoosh sound effect. That's pretty cool. We're just going to go ahead and reuse it. And when we do use it, just do make sure that it is not too intense because this is supposed to be a subtle effect.
It's a day.
Like that's cool, but it's just too loud. So let's make sure to tone it down to -10.
It's a daily.
And then as it's fading in, I'm also going to duplicate it and have the same glitch sound effect here as well. And once again, when this thing turns into a glass effect, I definitely want to use a pop sound effect one more time. And this time we need a loud one. I think this is a good one here.
Daily driver. An everyday character.
And now what you notice is this thing flows in here and then glows and then flows back out. The first thing I want to happen is when this thing flows in, we can use a ringtone sound effect, not a ringtone, not necessarily a phone ringtone, or we could just do that. And I'll show you guys how we can layer on a few sound effects to make it sound like it's happening in a distance. So we can use phone, ringtone, and vibrate. Let's go ahead and stick to the ringtone for now. Just like that. That's not a bad one. An old ringtone like this is really good, so we're going to go ahead and download this. And what we're going to do is we're going to play around with this. We're actually just going to add this thing into our scene. As the red button is in here, what we have is we have a whoosh, so we're going to blend this in with the whoosh. So this thing is going to come in behind the whoosh.
Everyday carry for your basic needs.
And then it's going to fade out right after this first ring. So perfect, we just get one ring. There's two things that we're going to do. We're number one going to make it reverb, so we're going to make it echo in the background. Number two, we're going to make it blurred out. So first thing we're going to do is drop down its volume to -10. The second thing we're going to add in is the studio reverb, obviously. We're going to click on edit and make sure we're using a medium one.
For your basic needs.
And the last thing we're also going to add in is a equalizer. Parametric equalizer is good. Click on edit and you can actually use a preset. There's one that's called either old time radio, works pretty good, or you could just simply tone down the low hertz like so, which is going to make it feel like it's faded out.
A carry for your basic,
which I think is pretty good if we just kind of fade them out on both sides like this.
A carry for your basic need.
I think that's not bad, but we can also play around by dropping its volume a bit more because I really don't want it to be visible.
Everyday carry for your basic needs.
And finally, we also need the vibration. So we're going to go phone vibrate. We're just going to go ahead and download this one over here. Should be pretty good. And we're just going to add it in while this ring is happening and have it fade out right afterwards. But we're going to need to make this one very low volume because remember, a vibrate is a low frequency, so it's a heavy bassy sound effect and it's also very loud. So we need this to be low.
A carry for your basic needs.
Just like that. And now we've pretty much just added the texture to absolutely everything in this animation. The final thing is just these three circles happening over here, which we're going to need to find some kind of sound effect for. And I think a good sound effect might be a mechanic glitch. Now, I think this sound effect, for example, might work nicely and add it in. And what I'm thinking is we just take this thing here and then we just add a studio reverb to it and make sure that we set it to your vocal reverb medium. And if we just go ahead and apply this right where our three circles pop in, that should sound good.
Boom.
And we just got to tone it down by -10. And there we go. This finishes up the texturing side of things. And as you guys can see, we now have the whooshes and the textures available inside of our timeline. And as we did with the whooshes, we're going to color the textures. We're going to select all of these, right click and label them. And I'm going to use the mango color for the textures. We're going to go ahead and shorten them down. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to expand the layers, which we haven't used yet. So this being said, ladies and gentlemen, this completes the whooshes and the textures. It's finally time to use music. For this first section, this is really a build-up. So we can actually use any kind of build-up music. So what I'm thinking is cinematic violin build-up. Once we get into this midsection, two things happen. Number one, the quantity of animations increases and movements. And number two, the quantity of sound effects dramatically increases, which actually shows me that this section here is the intense part of this video, which I want an intense track on here. And then right over here at the end, I want to go back to the cinematic violin. So let's get to work on our tracks. The first track we need is a cinematic violin. This is where things are going to get tricky. So I'm going to use the music section inside of Epidemic Sound to search up for some kind of violin cinematic. I'm going to go ahead and add some of these into a different folder and just test these out. One of the best methods, if I don't know which track is going to work best, is just test out all of them. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. We're going to add it into the music. So let's go ahead and add this into our Premiere Pro project. I'm definitely going to add a new project, a new folder, sorry, call it music. Let's go ahead and inside of this one, add in all these tracks. This one, I'm just going to go ahead and add an out point here and just make sure that we try this. We know that the moment this track is going to end is right at this point here. So I'm going to extend this and start it over here and end it right there. And I'm going to drop the volume to something like -20. Let's give this a shot with another one. I'm going to mute this track and try out a second track. Let's try this one. I don't think this one's going to work, but let's go ahead and give it a shot either way. Let's go ahead and give it a listen.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise.
It's not bad. I mean, it definitely blends in very nicely. I will leave it in here. We'll just give it a shot. Let's go ahead and give this one a shot.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise.
I really love the way that turns out. Wow, that is really beautiful. I really like this track. That's a very smooth build-up. I like it. Let's give it a try.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're
this one's not bad as well. Okay, I believe I don't like these two in the middle, and I do like these two over here. And I definitely like this second track over here already. Awesome, so we're going to use this first track over here for this first section. Okay, once we transition, then what are we going to transition to? Well, we're going to transition into a more intense part of the song. How do we transition into this? Well, one thing that we could do is find more tracks, or we could just use a different kind of track. We're going to need a mysterious song. That could totally feel nice in this kind of track. So let's go ahead and download this and give this a shot. This thing starts right around here. So let's go ahead and add this in and just see if it sounds good in the background and maybe give it a -10.
Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it.
I would prefer if we had this earlier on start as well. And then once we transition out of the song, we definitely need something intense towards the end. Over here, it's definitely a pretty good idea to end this with this violin. So let's go ahead and give this a shot over here at -15. And if we wanted to go with something that is totally different than the mysterious vibe, we could have gone with something that is pop. So something like just pop underground rap beats. Like we could go ahead and just test this one out for real quick. Let's go ahead and see what this build-up looks like.
Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone.
And if we were to use this heavier part of this song over here in the middle after the transition, let's see what that would sound like.
Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise.
And then we can use this most intense part of the song over here at the end. Just like this.
It's a daily driver, an everyday carry for your basic needs.
Notice how we use the smooth part of the song and then the more intense and then the most intense in sequence. I like this ending soundtrack over here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and merge both of these together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these two tracks and use this track, this intro track over here. I think this is going to be a lot better. And then finally at the end here, I'm definitely going to get rid of this last track here. I'm going to be using this one over here, just like that. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you create a cool music track for your video. Now with this being said, guys, you can also finish this whole thing off and top it off by simply fading out your sound effect over here at the end. So what I would do is I would head over to Epidemic Sound and find some kind of heavy glitch sound effect, like a mechanical glitch. Yep, something like these heavy mechanical glitches. And you can just add these in, and here's how you basically use them. You use a sound effect like this one, and you essentially take it and you just have it build up to the middle and then fade back out from the middle. And you make sure that the build up and the fade out is really small. And so the way you can use this is you can actually just place this specific sound effect here on any transition you would like and tone down the volume.
Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you create a high quality ad. And that's it for this specific tutorial. With everything complete, this is what it finally sounds like.
Need a phone? Introducing the all-new Apple iPhone. Perhaps you're into exercise. You can track your progress with Apple. What about your hydration and your gym habits? We'll handle it. It's a daily driver, an everyday carry for your basic needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our 4-part Apple style masterclass, and thank you guys so much for watching all the way till the end of the video. God bless all of you guys watching this video, and make sure you check out the 5 free masterclasses that I made for you guys. Also, don't forget, if you want to master video editing and land your first $1,000 per month editing job, Ultimate Editors is where you need to be. And with all this being said, you'll see 2 videos that pop up on the screen right now. Both of those are just as good as the one which you just watched. So if you enjoyed it, make sure to click on one of them. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.